Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of From Adversity to Awakening. I am your host, Peggy O'Neill, and I have a very, very, very special guest today. You see here the beautiful smile, beautiful lady, Jennifer Arnold. I met Jennifer recently. I had admired that she was a TV star of the show The Little Couple, even though I didn't watch it much, but I knew of her and I knew she was a doctor and a mom and she was an awesome person. And she was so positive and so joyful when I met her. I knew she'd be a great fit for the show. So welcome, Jennifer. Everybody say hi to Jennifer Arnold. Yay. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you, Peggy, for having me. I am so thrilled. When I met you this summer and you invited me on the podcast, of course, I was super excited because I felt like when I met you too, that, we kind of are kindred spirits. So thank you for having me.
I love that. Thank you for noticing that because we didn't meet for very long, right? So
No,
yeah. So
quick.
I'm gonna read her like professional. She's like a doctor, you guys. So get ready for this. She's very impressive bio. So Dr. Jennifer Arnold is a pediatrician, neonatologist. Say that right?
You
Okay.
got it.
And expert in healthcare simulation at Boston Children's Hospital. Her unique perspective on medicine has been shaped by the various ways she is engaged with the field as a pediatric and adult patient, cancer survivor, mother, doctor, and it does not say movie star, TV star, but I would add that to the list. Of St. Petersburg, Florida. Arnold received her undergraduate degrees in biology and psychology from the University of Miami. She completed her medical degree at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine in 2000. Arnold was a National Institute of Health postdoctoral scholar at the University of Pittsburgh's Qatar Center, yada, 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 and da 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 da. I'm gonna
Yeah, you don't have to read it all.
yeah, a founding director. Yeah, but I want to tell them about you're a founding director of the Simulation Center at both Texas Children's Hospital and Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. Dr. Arnold has a passion for innovating in the application of healthcare simulation as a patient safety tool. Since 2022, she has served as a program director and da 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 da. Okay, now I'm going to tell you that she's an internationally well-known speaker. She's got a New York Times best-selling book called Life is Short, no pun intended. Great title. And of course, Think Big, which although people want to write a book called that, my book is called Walking Tall. You may or may not know that. And recipient of awards for innovation in medical education and patient care. So that's all awesome. Now she has a passion to advocate for pediatric healthcare and raising awareness for individuals with disabilities. And for this, we love you. It is this passion that led her to a career in medicine and to focus her media efforts in this effort. So we just had a long discussion about how they roped her in, they reeled her in for the show, but she would only do it under the circumstances that it was very uplifting and very positive and would have shine a very positive light on little people. So we love you for that too, Jennifer. So she now this is amazing. She's a 10-year cancer survivor. Not only does she have a disability and has personally overcome extraordinary physical and health obstacles, but she's the mother of 2 children with medical complications, both with skeletal dysplasia, and the other word for that is little people. And her husband, Bill Klein, who's awesome and handsome and a dude on the show. You guys can check him out. And their 2 children, Zoe and Will. They were featured for 10 years, from 2009 to 2019, on TL's docuseries called The Little Couple. So, yeah, the show's popularity helped to break down barriers and educate viewers about people with disabilities. Rah, rah! Yay, Jennifer, you're awesome. I love that you do this. And I told you earlier, I'm going to tell everybody. When someone asked me the other day, someone had given a acting thing and he did a really good job and it spoke very well for little people. Someone asked me my favorite thing of the day and I said, what Mark Pavanelli is doing for little people. And I feel that way times 100 about Jennifer and her husband Bill, because they have spent 10 years of life, 182 episodes, um, demonstrating to people that may not have a chance to see a little person, definitely talk to a little person, or understand about the challenges that little people face. Um, she has enlightened them.
Oh, thank you.
And for
We
this,
are, as are you. That's why we're doing what we do, right? We're making the world hopefully a more inclusive, better place.
that's true. And I loved in the show when you said, they were asking you about having, oh, the you were getting your palm read, and the guy said you're going to have kids, and then your voiceover was like, well, we have the same, we're the same, we're small, but we have same expectations and desires for our life. And you went on to bring two beautiful children in your life. So now that people know a little bit about you, we're going to go into some details about your adversity. Is that okay?
That sounds wonderful.
Okay, great. So why don't you, because the show is called From Adversity to Awakening, we're gonna sort of travel that arc, right, from the hardship. So, you've had cancer, you're a little person, you're a doctor in a very male, you're a female, a small female in a very male dominated profession. I can't imagine which one you're going to pick as your greatest adversity, but you don't have to pick one, as I said. You can pick a couple. So tell us about your hardships, Jen.
Yeah, well, it's really a fascinating question because you made me start to reflect about which one has been the most sort of impactful, I guess, in my life. And for me, it, like you said, it's hard to pick one, right? We all have so many challenges and adversities in our lives, like no human being escapes them. But I think for me, the in most of my childhood, maybe I'll break it down into phases of life. I would say the hardest adversity was going through as many surgeries as I had to go through. And I think
Oh,
for me,
because of your short stature. Okay,
exactly.
so let's educate I have acro, my type. Okay, so here's a little LP education. 80 to 90% of little people have achondroplasia, which your husband has acro.
No, he's SED too.
Oh, he's SED too. Okay, great. So all those folks, they have their own skeletal situation going on. A lot of them need surgeries between the age of birth and college.
Yeah.
And Jennifer's type is SED. My type is called acromesomelia, and my type has no surgeries. So I had no surgeries. So why don't you share with the audience a little bit about what they had to do, what that was like for you?
Yeah. So for my type of skeletal dysplasia, because it's primarily impacts the joints and the ends of the long bones. I had severe scoliosis, and as I would grow, my legs and arms would essentially grow out of whack, right? Abnormally, and so I'd have to have surgeries, orthopedic surgeries. Well, first I had to have a cervical spine fusion to prevent again, part of the joint laxity in the upper spinal cord at the base of the skull was that if I had fallen, I could have become paralyzed from the neck down. So that was the first big surgery. I was about 2 years old when that one was done. And so they fused my neck, and then I was in a halo, which is like screws in your forehead and hold your neck in place while you heal for a really long time. That
That's
was
what
probably,
made you so smart.
yeah, right. I don't know. I'm like, maybe there's holes, right? Yeah.
you
Let's
you
hope.
tune into the extra dimensional intelligence.
That's right, that's right. Maybe during the surgery, Dr. Kopitz gave me some of his brain power, you know? So so I ended up having that one as the first one, but then I had lots of osteotomies on my hips, knees, and ankles, and then scoliosis surgery when I was a teen. But my hips, knees, and ankles were pretty much like an every couple year tune-up, where I'd have multiple surgeries where they break the bones, they realign them, and then you'd spend 8 weeks or more in either a full body cast called a hip spica or a full leg cast. And so a lot of my childhood summers were spent having surgery, and it was scary, painful. I pretty much was convinced I was never going to make it past the next one as I started to enter the tween and teen years because it was traumatizing. to have so many. I mean, I probably have had about 30 between 2 years
My
and
friend, I'm so
young
sorry.
adulthood.
I didn't even know that. Cancer's
Yeah.
a drop in the bucket next to that, and cancer is bad.
I know cancer was actually a walk in the park theoretically compared to that. So yeah, that was the hardest. And I think, for any child that's going through major healthcare issues, I mean, that's why I ended up wanting to become a pediatrician and going to medicine was because I mean, I have a lot to be grateful for. Like I am able to be alive. I'm not paralyzed. I can stand relatively straight. I'm very active. I do what I need to do to enjoy my life. And that's the benefit of having all these
You're
surgeries.
very mobile. You're very mobile.
Very mobile.
Uh-huh.
And, I had a great doctor and I had really great parents that
Okay.
felt they were willing to go and they had to undergo hardship, right? I didn't come from a wealthy family, so they traveled to Baltimore from Florida. I mean, they did a lot of hardship to make it all happen because they just felt like this was going to give me the best chance at a
Awesome.
happy life. So that was probably the
Thank
number
you,
one.
Mom and Dad. Thank you very, very much.
Right. His parents make all the difference in the world. That's right.
Okay, yes.
And so then from there, I would say in adulthood, maybe the biggest adversity was then based on my experience of being a patient all of my life was to become a doctor and wanting to give back to kids and help kids in some way. I didn't, while I would have loved to become an orthopedic surgeon, I didn't feel like that was really a very practical opportunity in medicine, but I thought there are so many ways to help kids be healthy or, save lives. And I felt like I had such a great influential experience with Dr. Kopitz, who is my surgeon of many, many little people, I think,
Uh-huh.
have been patients of his back in the day. And so I wanted to give back and, going into medicine back then as a little person a woman too. I mean, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I guess
I think probably if you knew and I knew, we wouldn't have done it. But
probably.
especially you like way, way harder and all the learning and all the testing and all the mentorship and all the doctors' egos to deal with. I mean, that may be, all of it together would be, and the system itself is just
Yeah.
not really LP friendly.
No. And so when I applied, when I was applying to medical school, I sort of, I guess, this is sort of my take on life, right? Like you just don't know until you can't anymore, right? So I just knew that this is what I wanted to do and I was going to apply and I didn't know if it would work out. I didn't know any other little people who were physicians. I didn't even know anyone with a disability, a physical disability for sure, who was a physician. And so but I didn't really think too much about it. I just thought, well, I thought about the little person factor. I was like, but I'm just gonna do it. And you know what? It could end up not working out, but I'll never know unless I go for it. And so I did.
Let's have a little break. I wanted to share with you about an incredible stress busting tool that I created called Tap for Joy. And it incorporates acupressure tapping, you may have heard of it, NLP, neuro linguistic programming, hypnosis, and somatic awareness into this mighty mouse of an app that can reduce stress and increase happiness. Check it out at Tap for Joy in the Apple Store, Tap for Joy, or an explainer video at tapforjoyapp.com. It will help you to come to center, reduce stress, have a better mood, be more amicable, boost your immune system, deal with past trauma, all kinds of things. There's also an upgrade you can get with lots of cool features. So check out Tap for Joy and tap your way to joy today. So let's get back to the interview now.
The application process was probably the first time in my life, that despite working hard, I couldn't make something happen that I really wanted to make happen for me, for my career. I mean, I applied to 40 schools, which is not uncommon. Many pre-med students in college, apply to a lot of schools because it's very competitive, right? So I did that like all of my friends and my peers who are pre-med. And then, you take the MCAT standardized test and you put in your first round of applications to those 40 schools. And then based on your grades and your test scores, your general application, you get secondary applications. And then So I got a bunch of secondary applications like most of my peers. And in that piece of the process, you write a personal statement, you get letters of reference, recommendation. And after that secondary step, then the schools that are interested in you reach out to set up an interview. Well, in my personal statement, I said why I wanted to become a physician was because I was a little person. I was a patient all my life. I wanted to give back to kids. I talked about the influence of my surgeon growing up. And um, well, I'll tell you that while my friends who seemed to have basically, similar grades, extracurricular activities, standardized test scores, were getting interviews, I was getting straight up rejection after rejection after rejection.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I got rejected from all but in the end 2 schools, one of which I will tell you. So one of the activities that I was in was called the essentially President's 100. So it's P100s I was at the University of Miami, native Floridian me. I went to Miami, and as a P100, you were like a student ambassador. You had to apply and get accepted. And as a student ambassador, one of the functions were to host events at the president of the university's house. And so Dr. Tad Foote, who was the president, knew me because you know what it's like to be a little person, right? You stand on the crowd. Most people that you engage with, like, they know you, they remember you, and I was
They are easy to remember.
exactly. So Dr. Foote would always come up when I was, volunteering or hosting, and he would ask me how things were going. Well, when I was applying to medical school, he had asked me, had I yet interviewed at the University of Miami School of Medicine. Well, at that time that he asked me, I'd already been rejected. And I thought, what do I say? I was like, I almost felt like, you feel like you should lie, like, because you don't want him to be disappointed. But at the same time, I can't lie. It's not, that would be weird, bad. It's not in me to lie. Plus, you could find out. So I just said, well, unfortunately, Dr. Foote, I didn't get an interview here, but, I'm remaining optimistic. I still have a couple more schools to hear from. And well, I'll tell you that a week later, I got a call from the University of Miami School of Admissions or Office of Admissions at the School of Medicine inviting me for an interview. And I literally said to them in my dorm room, and I remember this vividly, are you sure you have the right Jennifer Arnold? Because I have my rejection in my hand. And they're like,
Beautiful.
no. They're like, we reconsidered. We'd like to extend you an interview. Well, I will tell you at that moment, I almost said no, thank you. Because I
You've
thought,
been shot down so many times. I get it.
well, and I thought Dr. Foote made a phone call, right? Like, how else would they go from a rejection
Yeah, but
to,
so what?
so what? Exactly. So this is why I got to remember that, because I was thinking like, oh my gosh, he's helping me, and I wanted to make sure, like, maybe I was
He needed
thinking
help. He needed the light of his consciousness to help dispel the darkness of those other people's prejudice.
exactly, but at the time, you just think,
You want to be like everybody else, and
yeah,
they did it
exactly,
elsewhere, but they didn't have the challenge you did. They didn't have a, thing of like, no, this person may not be admitted because they're whatever.
oh, yeah, exactly,
Because they're different than us.
yep.
Not in the boys club. They're not in the blah blah blah. Anyway, let's get back to the adversity. So you had the surgeries. You certainly had a hard time getting application to
Well,
getting
I
to get
got one
their
more interview.
interviews. You did get the interview and you got in, obviously.
But I got 2 interviews. I
Oh,
got one
yeah.
more. So the
Uh-huh.
second one, so I did accept that one interview, and then I got an interview at my dream school, which I thought, like, out of all the other rejections, right? 38 rejection letters. I got an interview at my alma mater to be because of, obviously Dr. Foote helping me. But then second, I got an interview at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. I didn't even like know. I just
They're
got
little
one.
people friendly there.
I know. And so I thought this is great. So I interviewed at both, and I got into both in the end, and
Yay.
going to Hopkins. So because it was my dream school, and it was,
So
near and dear to my heart.
just a short answer about this because I want to get back to the adversity, but do you mainly treat people with little people that have similar kind of osteo whatever bone challenges, or do
So
you deal with the general population predominantly?
yeah, so for me, I mean, it's so hard to subspecialize in medicine in one population's. Although I'll tell you something in just a minute, but I I do general, so I went into pediatrics and then neonatology. So I care for all babies that are critically ill. So in the neonatal ICU. So all population, but now at my current institution at Boston Children's, we're working on a skeletal dysplasia center.
Oh,
So, and
wow.
I'm
Awesome.
getting the chance to be involved with that, which will allow me to start to see patients
Awesome. Awesome.
in
That's
our that have our needs. So
Yay. That's so good. Then you'll really be in a familiar place.
I know it's going to be so.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So and then, not gonna talk in detail about this because I have shared with my audience to some degree. Being a little person, there's the staring and there's the exclusion that you just talked about. There's the prejudice, there's the pointing and blah blah blahing and the physical having the world not built your size. Especially, I didn't mention Jen is 6 inches shorter than I am. So I'm the size of like a 6-year-old and you're like the size six.
4 or 5.
Yeah, I mean, she's tiny, tiny, and people call me tiny, but I call you tiny. So I guess it's all relative. Anyway, tell us, how how did having all those how did having all of those challenges, maybe especially the one when you were young, how did it impact you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for one thing, it can breed, and for me, thankfully, it did breed, I think, resiliency, and I think even more so, and again, I give a lot of credit to my family, my parents, and the other family members that I had. I had a really strong support system growing up, you
Right.
know, at this time, which probably was tremendously critical in my ability to like take these experiences and say, you know what, this sucks, like, trust me, but my family was very much like, let's not have a pity party, like, we're doing this so that you can enjoy your life, and for me, it was like, well, I want to enjoy life. I want to do the things that I want to do, even if I have these hurdles, like, the end goal is to do whatever it is I wanna do, like, I wanna live life. So, it was
Freedom.
basically they taught me to, like, not let it get in your way, and also not give up.
Beautiful. Persistence and determination. Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. Awesome.
'Cause I always say I'm the kind of girl that likes to have her cake and eat it too.
Well,
Good.
in order for that to happen in a real way, I think people have to be willing to deal with the challenges that come, whether they're financial, health, relational, the loss of a loved one, whatever, what the loss of a pet, the bankruptcy, whatever. So tell us a little bit about how the resiliency helped you with your cancer situation.
Yeah, my cancer diagnosis completely came out of left field, right? I think, I
How
don't
old
know.
are you? 40,
I'm
40?
39.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, when I was diagnosed. Yeah.
And
Just
the mother
recently.
of one and about to become the mother of two.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, so all that happened. Like, I literally got sick in India and came home and had to start treatment because we identified that I had cancer. Like,
Yeah, and she went to India to adopt her second child. First one
that's
came from
right.
China? No, first one
Right.
came from, yeah,
Yeah,
China.
China. Will, my son is he's from China and Zoe's from India. Yep.
Mhm.
So, I mean, an amazing way to become parents, right? And my kids, I mean, there's nothing better in the world than my two, but I'm biased. I know that we all think that of our kids when we have kids and whatnot. But I think for me, like, I never expected to get cancer right after becoming a parent. But it's funny how those things happen right in life, I feel like, because I feel like I checked all the boxes, right? I mean, had a career I loved. I worked so hard to get to. I had an amazing husband that I never expected to find, that I was madly in love with, and now I was going to become a parent of two kids. Like, check, 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 right? Like, life is like great. And then, like, boom, like, something just has to come out of left field and be like, yeah, don't take it all for granted too fast. Like, here's here's your next obstacle.
Yeah,
To
wow.
to tackle it. Yeah. So, but I was very fortunate. I mean, it was not an easy road. I think as a little person, um, no one really knew, at least my local team was not 100% sure on how to treat me because of some of those complexities, right? Um, I had an adult cancer that should have been treated in an adult hospital, but the adult hospital didn't have airway equipment or central line equipment my size, and they didn't have the expertise. And then the dosing, I mean, dosing chemotherapy is no joke. And I remember my doctor saying, because we started chemo and I was still my tumor was growing astronomically. I was hemorrhaging, and she
Mm.
was getting really worried, and we were dosing it appropriately, but I ended up having to get a hysterectomy to remove the tumor because it just wasn't responding to intensive chemotherapy, which was like the next to last line before, like, there's no other options. And it already metastasized to my lungs. So, so she was, yeah,
Scary, scary, scary. That's also scary stuff.
all scary stuff. And so, she was struggling and she thought, I'm just going to titrate the dose till your hair starts falling out. And, because based on weight and height, it wasn't working, but probably because my liver is bigger in proportion to my stature and it metabolizes the drug, but you don't know how much to do it. So she looked at the literature for patients who were amputees, and they
Uh-huh.
used
Uh-huh.
CT scans of their
Yeah.
liver
Yeah.
to to come up with a dosing algorithm for
Interesting.
chemo.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what we used. And then it started to work. So, and
Yay.
after 6 months, completely cancer free.
Yay. Oh my God.
Still to this day. Yeah.
And
But it was a hard thing because you just don't know how that's gonna turn out. And
yeah.
and then you think your skeletal dysplasia, like your typical adversity, adds more adversity to our already adverse situation.
Yes, you've definitely gotten your fair share and more and more and more this life.
It's
Jennifer,
okay.
tell us about how working through all of these adversities has allowed you to experience more connection with yourself and others, how to experience more inner peace and joy, those kinds of things. Like, how has it had any positive effect?
I mean, I think so. I think for me personally, it's helped me again, as I mentioned, like it's made me more resilient and not to stop enjoying life. Like I'm a very busy body. Like I like to be going and going and going, going. So that's probably helped me overcome these challenges, but
We're
also
similar in that respect. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's made me just a very like active person and wanting to work hard, but also enjoy life hard too, right? Like
Yeah, me too.
that's what life's about. And and I think maybe the other thing that I've learned from all of these is that I mean it sounds silly to say and cliche, but life is kind of short. So um when you have adversities, like you have
And
and
I
like
wrote
I
all
said in
about
my
it.
book, I know life is short, no pun intended, but truly like life is full of adversities, but you just got to look at them as an opportunity to learn something. Hopefully, you come out of it the other side okay. And so you can keep on living for the things that are important to you. And um, I guess for me, like I'm almost, I don't know, I thrive on stress, I guess, to a certain extent. So when life gets too status quo, I start getting worried. but, but,
Bored,
but
maybe.
exactly, exactly. That is true. Ever since I was a baby, apparently my parents said I hated to be bored. Like that was like the least favorite thing for me. I always said I'm bored, and that was like,
Me too.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it seems to me that you're very a person who connects well with people, connects
Yeah.
well with your family members, as I've seen little snippets on TV and all of that. And I um I would imagine, yeah, tell us how has, you know, like how is going through all that adversity made you a bigger, better person?
Well, I think it's interesting, Peggy, that you asked me about the connection piece, and I do think that going through adversity really does help with that connection because
Me too.
partially, right, for survival mode, you have to learn to connect with lots of different people very quickly when you're in those experiences. And then I also think that, particularly in my profession right now, or just as a clinician, you're caring for people at sometimes the worst time in their life, right? Either they're the parent or the patient, the child who's going through some type of a medical crisis, maybe life threatening. And I mean, for ICU care, most of my patients, it's a life-threatening situation. And because I've had really challenging health experiences myself, I think that helps from a relatability and empathy, a compassion perspective, and to think
Yes.
about them first, like as a whole person, not just a disease that needs to be fixed or
Uh,
that you want to make better, but like you want to care for that human, that
yeah.
person that you don't know what it's like in their shoes, but you know what it's like to be in similar shoes. And I think that helps us all to make connections when we have that similar experience.
Hey, let's have a little break. And I wanted to share with you about one of my superpowers, which is helping people get through really tough stresses, difficulties, issues, and even trauma or traumas. Lots of people have worked with other people and said, I couldn't break through, but with you, I could. And not only do I help you like get to break through, but also help you to pull back the layers of stress, melt the ice of frozen energy inside of you, and give you access to the beautiful ocean of creative intelligence that's inside of you and all its qualities like strength, courage, wisdom, joy, laughter, and compassion, etc. So chatwithpeggy.us is my scheduling, and sign up for a discovery call. You can work with me one-on-one on phone, Zoom, in person over time, or come to my hometown for a weekend intensive. I look forward to working with you that way if your heart is so drawn. Well, I am very touched when I hear you say that it helped you to treat the person as a whole person, because the medical field is not stationed there. That's not their mindset.
Mhm.
Mindset is to treat disease and to make the symptoms go away. And the body is what ultimately heals itself. So if the whole person, I mean, we all know how much more resilient we become when we are loved and cared for in a way that feels good. And we all know what happens to us when it doesn't feel good, right? So the fact that you have sort of evolved into this understanding that there is a way to deal with people and healing and medicine and care that involves seeing a person with mind, body, and soul and spirit, you know,
Exactly.
and feelings and a past and a future.
Yeah,
And yeah, so that is so beautiful. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
same.
Yeah, and I noticed that you have a very easy time connecting with people. I saw it on your show. You go people. I'm similar. I shared with you that we have to develop a certain skill in creating a common bond because of our difference with people that we interact with, mostly are average sized people. So,
Yeah.
um, I'm curious. This is off topic, but a little bit. But I'm curious. How did you meet your husband?
Yes, well, I
Seems
feel
like
like
such a great guy.
he really is. I am really, again, like one of those things, like just so like thankful, grateful. Can't believe I found this great spouse to share my life with. Yeah, so we met when he will tell you when we were 10. We both grew up going to the same surgeon because also with SED, Bill had a lot of surgeries like me. I didn't realize we had crossed
Your
paths.
age? Is he about your age?
Exactly. Like he's 6 months younger, so he still calls me a cougar. But yeah, he's born same year, and we both grew up. He grew up in Long Island and traveled to Baltimore for his surgeries, and I grew up in Florida. And I didn't really remember meeting him, but he remembered one of the times that we were in the hospital at the same time, and I was post-op and really sick, and I guess he came in because he was there after recovering from surgery, right? He was in his cast and was there for physical therapy to learn to walk again. And he was, I guess, cruising the halls looking for chicks, is what he likes to describe it as, and came into my
Looking
room.
for chicks? Is that what you said?
Yeah, he was literally supposedly cruising the hall looking for chicks. I'm like, all right, that's
Okay,
lovely
looking for
at
chicks.
10.
That's good. And he's 10 years old. I like that.
Yeah, he's a little advanced for his age, I think. But apparently he ended up my mom was like trying to kick him out of the room because I was like really sick. So I barely remember, but everything that he described was exactly the same as what it really happened that time, that like that particular surgery. And so, well, I don't remember, but he remembered meeting me. Fast forward 10 years later, our Dr. Kopitz and the nurse practitioner that worked very closely with him leading the center, Diane Hawes, actually tried to set us up, kind of. Like, we were in college and I spent the summer shadowing Dr. Kopitz because I was thinking again about going to medical school and I wanted to get some experience. And he also apparently had been thinking about going to medical school and was going to shadow the following summer. And so
Interesting.
Diane, I know, right? And so Diane told me all about this, handsome, young man from Long Island who was, looking to become a doctor too, and how she wanted to connect us. Eh, he heard the same about me when he came the next year. Now, meanwhile, we never met. So fast forward another 10 years. Still haven't really met him. And now we're no longer in our early 20s. Now we're in our mid 30s or early 30s. And I went on still single, on a dating site, which I don't know if you've heard of it, but it was around for a long time. I don't even know if it's still around, called datealittle.com for little
That
people.
site.
You hate it?
I had some problems and nobody would help me, and I felt like the software didn't work properly, and they were not being of service and taking people's money and not delivering. So,
Agreed. So so I had my
but I've met several people who have met on there.
Yeah. So I mean, so I was on there, like I had my profile, but again, to your point, back then when I was in residency and fellowship training and I was hoping one day to find someone, I didn't pay because I didn't make like as a resident fellow, you work horrible 100 hours a week, you don't make any money, like
Right.
so I didn't pay. But Bill was on there apparently, and he apparently emailed me, which I never saw the message in my inbox because I didn't pay. If you didn't pay, you didn't get your messages.
See, that's that site. That's
Mm-hmm.
exactly that site. I would, yeah, exactly.
So then one night though, with a glass of wine with my dear friend Lakshmi, we both decided because we were both single and we were hanging out, we were a glass of wine. She's like, all right, we're gonna do something about it tonight. So she went on and signed up for match.com and I went back onto Date a Little and I paid my fee to
Good.
like
You're
be able to
24.95 or whatever.
exactly. So that I could email somebody. So we both scanned, like she searched a 50-mile radius and I did a 500-mile radius. And I came across this profile of this handsome guy from Long Island who, again, that website, right? So it had a checkbox like if you're married looking for love. And I was like, okay, well, that's not something I'm looking for. And but he had a job and his profile picture was really cute and he was my age. New York, not too terribly far away from Pittsburgh because I was in Pittsburgh for my training. And so I sent him a message. I didn't realize who it was. I hadn't had a clue. And so he emailed me back like a week later and then we started emailing back and forth for about a month or two, almost three. I think it's a month or two. He would probably remember the better than me. And then finally he was like, let's get on the phone and let's have a phone date. Well, he stood me up on our first phone date. I know. Yeah, I know. He said he was too nervous, but anyways, so he stood me up on the first phone date.
That's hilarious.
I know he was too nervous. I'm like, what? But I still don't know who he is, right? That he actually knows who I am. So then we meet on our first phone date, and he reveals to me on the phone, he's like, actually, I know who you are. And I was like, what do you
Was
mean
it a
you know?
Skype call or a phone call?
Just a regular phone call. And I've been following you for like years. And I was like, what? I found a stalker. I was like, are you kidding? This is before Facebook existed, right? All of these
Not
things.
even when social media is happening.
No, there was no such thing
What does
like
that
that.
mean? Back then, if somebody said they're following me, I would look over my shoulder.
I know. I was like, how are you following me?
Right?
He's like, well, I'm a COPAS patient too, and I've been following your career and what you're doing. He's like, I almost wanted to go to medical school. And he's like, and we've met like once, and then Diane, and then he started putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and I was like, okay, so what did I do? As soon as I got off the phone, I called Diane and I said, Diane, I need a background check on this Bill Klein. And she revealed, she's like, yes, that was the guy I wanted to set you up with 10 years ago. And she's like, he was kind of wild as a kid, but he's okay. And I said, okay, good. And the rest is history. We met in person and like we knew we were.
Oh, that is an awesome story. I love that story. Thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah.
And Yeah, and for me, one of the biggest obstacles in my life has been finding a partner, for sure. And
It's
I did. I mean, I was married for 17 years, but getting there was like awful. Was
awful.
awful, awful, awful. Like you said, we have same desires, same expectations, and nobody sat down with me and said, like, why it would be. I did have uh the dean at my college when I finished photography school. I went to professional commercial photography school. It's very hard because there's a lot of big, heavy equipment with lights and stands and 4x5 cameras, all this. And the dean said to me a month before I'm graduating, I've gone through a 8 semester program. Says to me, nobody is going to hire you. Congratulations, Peggy. Your portfolio looks awesome, but guess what? No one's going to hire you because you're a little person. And I was not an empowered person at that time. And I didn't tell him to go jump in a lake. I internalized it. I started telling myself, I'll never get hired. Every time I thought about going and showing my portfolio at an ad agency or trying to get a job as an assistant to another professional photographer, or opening a studio, whatever, this mantra kept going. So this, of course, gave me my opening story for my book and my keynote speech, which is about the power of the critical voice. So that's the silver lining that came out of it, that it's such an incredible teaching about how we talk to ourselves is what, and I crashed and burned. I ended up not pursuing my career as a photographer. I moved to Hawaii. I dropped out. I had a farm. I took pictures at schools. I mean, I could have done that years before I ever even went to that school. So what I'm trying to say, I'm sorry I got off in my own thing, is
No, that's
um that the the oh, and in all, I forgot how it's gonna. Anyway, the thing about finding a partner, it's hard. It's hard. It's
it's
hard.
hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. And it's horrible when we have those experiences like you just shared too, that just
Oh,
it just deflates you and
yeah. It
you
totally. And
the
I
house of
remember how I was going to integrate it now. He said to me, nobody's going to hire me. And nobody ever came up to me and said, guess what? Average size guys, especially teenagers, are probably not going to want to date you. And,
yeah,
thank God nobody said it to me. But in a way, I sort of wish they did because my expectations would have been curbed a little bit and would have taken me 20 years to figure it out that my
yeah,
size was a big detriment. And it took me another 20 years to figure out that it wasn't prejudice, it was just sameness.
yeah.
That they want to be with someone, you want to be with someone with your similar financial, intellectual, athletic capacities, same with size. And so, it took me a long time to figure that out.
No, but I think that's it's good that it's so good that you're sharing it now and thinking about it because I think it takes all of us a long time to figure that out because I went through similar thoughts
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
just, but it's we have to figure out, I don't know, like you just can't give up. You got to keep believing that it's
Yeah. And
possible.
definitely. That's so true. You just have to be completely persistent and optimistic. And it seems like you had those neural pathways well developed as a child since you had to go through all that adversity. And it's amazing to me when I watch the show and also reading your bio to see how much you have accomplished and how many goals that you set for yourself and how high you set the bar and you achieve them all. And it's such a testament to mindset and to um, goal setting and to having support and having and getting away from the people who say you'll never get hired, right?
Yes. Or at least they should tell you before you finish paying for 4 years of school.
Well, the little side note to that is he didn't come to the school till I was in my 7th semester.
Okay, okay.
But
But still, then
I know if he had been there since the beginning, I would have, when I figured it out, I would have gone back and sued him. But I repressed the whole thing. I forgot about it. I didn't tell anybody. And anyway, that's a whole other story. Jennifer, you are an amazing person. And I think
I
that
know you.
I'm so grateful for you to doing the show, not only to exhibit that little people are just like everybody else and can do amazing things, but also that you have been a person of great vision, that you've wanted so much from yourself and from life, and that you haven't let nothing get in your way. Nothing has stopped you. You are unstoppable, and that should be the title of your next book.
I love it. Thank you. Well, us unstoppable women, we have to stay together because you know what? The next generation needs to see women like us so that they can
That is true.
achieve their goals.
That's true. That's true. Anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners before or watchers before we go?
Oh, no, just thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun to chat, connect, and just share stories. And hopefully somebody else listening, finds it
Yeah.
helpful for them too.
And if anybody wants to learn more about Jennifer and her husband Bill and their children Will and Zoe, you can go on any of the things, out there in internet land and watch them on Prime Video and a lot of other places to see the shows. 182 episodes. This person right here stood in front of a camera for 182 episodes. I don't know how you did it.
I don't either. It's like another one of those things. You just do it. You just do it.
Incredible perseverance, incredible determination. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for showing up in this life and being the amazing, awesome human being that you were born to be, and way, 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 way more. Thank you.
Oh,
You're
you're too
true
sweet.
inspiration.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for having me.
All right, dear. Well, thanks for being a fan of the podcast, and I would love if you would subscribe. Also, wanted to remind you about that mighty little app, Tap for Joy, and share with you about the amazing features for just $5 a month, like a no brainer, right? You're going to get some amazing tools for decreasing stress and increasing happiness, like a happy memory journal, which rewires your brain for happiness. You're going to get a bunch of customized tapping dialogues, which pinpoint and target your stress areas, a learn center, a bunch of other stuff, and a 5-day challenge. Highly recommend that for getting the most out of your results for decreasing stress and increasing happiness. So check out Tap for Joy, download it now in the Apple Store, try it out. You'll be surprised and amazed at how amazing it is, how remarkable it is, and how transforming it is. And I will see you on the next episode. So long for now.